Protests outside Taiwan's legislature flare ahead of a vote on controversial amendments on recalling elected officials. The prototype of Taiwan's first domestically built submarine has secured more funding to continue testing. But is that enough to keep the project afloat? Chinese President Xi Jinping lands in Macau on the 25th anniversary of its return to Chinese rule, hailing the one country, two systems model that Beijing hopes one day to apply to Taiwan. Plus, from a meeting with President Biden to a prisoner swap with China, Uyghur-American lawyer Nuri Turkul shares how he was reunited with his mother after her release from persecution in Xinjiang. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. We begin this evening with a second night of protests as citizens gather here in Taipei to decry amendments to recall an election law that would make it harder for elected officials to be removed from office. Reese Ayers is live at a protest site outside Taiwan's legislature. Reese, how are the crowds looking?
Well, not too big just yet, not quite as many as we were expecting, although the protest doesn't begin for another 30 minutes or so. Still, people braving the cold and the drizzle. Last night, the protest was outside the Kuomintang headquarters. Tonight, they're here outside Taiwan's legislature, and they're here to protest, among other things, some proposed changes to Taiwan's recall laws. Now, those changes have been proposed by the opposition KMT with support from the third party, the Taiwan People's Party, who together hold a majority in Taiwan's legislature. Let's talk about what those amendments are. Now, one of them will require voters who go to vote in a recall election to bring with them a copy of their ID. Now, the KMT is saying that that's to put off voter fraud. Opposers say that it has some data security risks. That will be voted on actually on Friday, and it's likely to pass with support from the TPP. Now, the second and arguably more consequential amendment will actually up the number of votes required to recall an elected official or a mayor. That number of votes will need to be more than the number that they were elected by. Now, that amendment has a few more stages to go through in the legislature, and actually the third party, the TPP, have said they're not 100% behind that amendment, so it's not quite as likely to pass. And actually, Taiwan's Central Election Commission saying that that amendment is questionable and saying that it would make Taiwan the only country in the world with such a law. Now, to give you an idea of how difficult it would be to recall an elected official with that new amendment, it's only really happened once in the last few years in Taiwan, and that was in 2020 when then Mayor of Kaohsiung, now Speaker of the House, Han Kuo-yu, was recalled.
And Reese, do we have any idea why the KMT is so eager to push these amendments through?
Well, even with the TPP's support, the opposition KMT, they hold a fairly small majority in the legislature, and there are accusations from the opposition that there are efforts to recall enough of their legislators that it would kill their majority in the legislature, essentially giving the ruling DPP full control of the executive and the legislature. Now, on the other side, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, they're decrying these amendments, but also an incident earlier this week in the legislature when KMT legislators blocked other DPP legislators from getting into the room to vote on that second amendment. So now both sides are calling foul play and accusing each other of sidestepping the democratic process for their own political gain.
Thank you, Reese. Stay warm out there. That was Reese Ayers reporting live from outside the legislature. In some breaking news, at least 3 people are dead after a fire ripped through a supermarket warehouse in central Taiwan. 19 people have been rescued, while many more are still missing. Firefighters say the flames spread quickly at the PX Mart facility because it was packed with highly flammable polystyrene boards. The company says the warehouse was new and still under construction. Taiwan's factories have recently been criticized for flouting fire safety regulations after a wave of protests by firefighters. Taiwan's presidential office is responding to allegations that one of President Lai Ching-te's security guards leaked his private schedule.
全案已经进入了司法审判阶段，总统府尊重司法的程序进行，而相关单位也会全力来配合后续的司法侦办。总统府的维安人员向来遵守岗位，恪尽职责，对于个别人员涉嫌违法伤害警察形象，绝不宽待。总统府也将会持续的来强化训练，加强防堵不法行为发生。
The officer responsible for Lai's security has been suspended from duty and detained for allegedly leaking state secrets. Prosecutors are also investigating whether the guard had been working for China. Lawmakers in Taiwan have agreed to continue funding the country's first prototype of a domestically made submarine. It's part of an almost $8 billion project which aims to build a fleet of 7 submarines. But as Jaime Okan reports, funding for the rest of the project is much less secure.
A proud day in Taiwan's naval history. Last year, the launch of Taiwan's first submarine prototype was being celebrated. But now, the entire program of 7 vessels is in jeopardy. For the past few months, lawmakers from both major political parties have gone back and forth about whether to continue domestic submarine production. But on Wednesday, legislators agreed that $18 million would go to continue funding the first prototype to finish its testing.
这个跟决心没有关系。这个潜舰国造是一个很好的政策，但是你有目的嘛？你有方法嘛？你有手段嘛？你的合约框架是如何执行，细节如何规范？那中间如果中共犯台，你生产线停了，这个时候的合约还有保险这些东西都要讨论。
The submarine program was initiated by former President Tsai Ing-wen from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, in 2016, as Taiwan's 2 active submarines are almost 40 years old. But for many lawmakers from the opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, the problem stems from the high cost of building these vessels. The total proposed cost of Taiwan's submarine program is roughly $7.6 billion and aims to build 7 submarines over 13 years. The challenge now is for Taiwan to approve the next part of the budget for 2026, which will likely face more opposition from the KMT. But many supporters of the program say these systems are crucial for Taiwan's defense.
如果要减列或者删除这一件事情呢，对我们以后武器的研发不但会有很大的影响，甚至对于相关的厂商，他也再也不要去跟我们台湾的政府合作。
Taiwan reportedly worked with contractors from the US, South Korea, and the UK to build its first prototype. Facing threats from neighboring China, which claims Taiwan as its own and now has the world's largest navy, Taipei plans to use the sub to counter Beijing's aggression. While discussions on how the submarine will be used are ongoing, analysts in Taiwan say that for the military, the most important priority is to secure funding. And that means more engagement with lawmakers on all sides.
冻结与否，这个绝对是这个立院的委员他们的权利，所以我会觉得这边还是有赖于海军如何去跟现在的一个党团，或者是最基本就是国防外交委员会这些相对来说比较更为对国防更为专业的委员能够有更多的互动。
The prototype submarine, also known as the Haikun, is about halfway through the testing needed before it can be commissioned. And while the budget for its future is now secure, the remainder of the fleet remains in limbo. Hank Xu and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
An army training center in southern Taiwan is giving rare insight into how paratroopers train using virtual reality. At a media event in Pingtung County, the military showcased a new way soldiers are learning to jump out of the military transport plans. Soldiers are suspended from a mock parachute. After passing tests with a simulator, the soldiers then move on to jump from a tower about 5 stories high. They then train to jump out of the actual aircraft. The U.S. Secretary of State says a crisis in the Taiwan Strait would mean a crisis for the global economy. In an interview with Foreign Affairs, Antony Blinken said half of the world's commercial container traffic passes through the strait, and a majority of the world's most advanced microchips are made in Taiwan. Blinken said no country would be unaffected in the event of a conflict with China, and maintaining peace is the world's business. China has responded to a U.S. report on corruption in China's armed forces, calling it irresponsible. The annual Pentagon report on China's military says corruption may have disrupted Beijing's military modernization goals. It pointed to several removals of officials in China's rocket force, which controls the country's strategic nuclear missiles. China's foreign ministry said the report ignores facts and is full of bias. Taiwan's government is flagging areas of Taiwan that are now more prone to earthquakes. As Rick Glauber reports, the country's seismic geography has changed since a massive deadly quake earlier this year.
Life is changing for residents here in southern Taiwan. They're more aware of the unstable ground beneath them. This year, they've experienced double the number of usual quakes. Taiwan is no stranger to earthquakes, sitting on the boundary of two tectonic plates. But this has become a new seismic hotspot. 8 months ago, a 7.2 magnitude quake hit Taiwan's east coast, killing 18 people and causing major damage. It also altered Taiwan's seismic geography. Previously stable faults in areas like Jiayi and Tainan in the southwest are becoming more active.
嘉义、台南这个区域的地震的频率是特别高的，是北部的这些桃竹苗啦、台中啦、高屏这边大概是它的10倍以上啊。但是它的地震的，以过去的经验来讲，最大的地震大概规模5点多，当然也有6点多的自灾的。
To mitigate disasters, Taiwan's government has relied on a state-of-the-art earthquake monitoring and alert system, and it's now officially flagging this region as a new sensitive area, urging locals to stay alert and follow building codes.
一条断层划设它的地质敏感区，可能要花到3到5年时间。早年调查的人力不是很多，再加上台湾经济发展非常快，很多地方马上就开发了。 现在你才发觉说，在敏感区里面，不要担心，之前这些建筑技术的规定都有提升了，尤其921之后。
Sitting on the Pacific rim of fire, Taiwan cannot avoid the dangers of earthquakes. But it's strictly adhered to safety practices, including holding preparedness drills, prevented greater loss of life during previous disasters. And while it remains difficult to accurately predict a quake, residents here will have to get used to their new geographical reality, where there is now more seismic activity than they've handled before. Joseph Wu and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, the skeleton cast of the largest dinosaur ever discovered has arrived in Taipei. Don't go away.
A museum in Taipei has curated a special exhibit on some of the largest dinosaur species, and we're getting a sneak preview.
For more stories from Peru and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Macao to celebrate a quarter-century of Beijing's rule there. It's his first visit since 2019, when anti-government protests rocked neighboring financial hub Hong Kong. Rosie Greninger reports.
Chinese President Xi Jinping touches down in Macau for a 3-day trip marking 25 years of Beijing's rule over the former Portuguese colony. Xi praising Macau's success under the one country, two systems framework that promised autonomy and wider civil liberties than mainland China.
25年来 具有澳门特色的一国两制实践，取得了举世公认的成功，展现出勃勃生机和独特魅力。国家的发展日新月异，势不可挡。澳门的发展厚积薄发，未来可期。
On his third visit as president, the leader is set to discuss the island's development plans. Macao, the world's largest gambling hub, is heavily reliant on the casino industry, contributing to 80% of regional tax revenue. She wants to reduce that risky reliance, urging further diversification from gambling and a shift towards tourism and leisure. He is also meeting with Macao's leaders. In talks with the territory's outgoing chief executive, she expressed full recognition of Ho Yak-sing's leadership in implementing the one country, two systems policy, according to state media. He will also attend the inauguration of the territory's new chief executive, former top judge Sam Ho-fai. While sharing their hopes for the incoming government, residents are welcoming Xi's visit.
咁所以而家我哋都係好開心，大家都平和，亦都好開心啦。阿習主席咧咁特別對我哋嘅感情嚟我哋呢度，所以我哋個個澳門人咧都覺得咧喺心裏頭都覺得好安慰啊，好開心㗎。
咁幫主要係講嗰個經濟上啦，澳門主都係一個比較細嘅地方啦。 如果經濟比較搞得上咧，就整體嚟講民生就好好多嘅。
But despite Xi's efforts to show a united and strong front in Macau, there are issues lurking beneath the surface. Some of the territory's 700,000 strong population say there are areas in need of improvement, including living conditions and public transport. While others claim one country, two systems has not provided the democracy it vowed. Pro-democracy activists say there is a strong sense of suppression, and civil society has fallen silent.
我承認我哋喺爭取民主度係一事無成嘅，但係我覺得喺過去播落嚟嘅種子咧，佢係有發芽嘅機會嘅。
But hopes to forge a new path towards democracy are looking unlikely, with incoming leader Ho Fai behind a 2019 ruling that heavily restricted freedom of assembly. And as Xi looks towards Macau's development, those underlying issues are still waiting to be resolved. Ryan Wu and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
In November, the U.S. and China carried out a prisoner swap, with Beijing handing over 3 Uyghurs facing long-term exit and domestic travel bans. They underwent treatment human rights experts say was targeted ethnic persecution. Among the 3 was the mother of Uyghur-American lawyer Nuri Turkle, who shared his family story with TaiwanPlus on Zoom In, Zoom Out.
This whole family suffering started actually when I was born. My mother delivered me in a re-education camp during the height of the Cultural Revolution, and my father was sent to labor camp performing agricultural labor, which is much like what is happening today. I went to college and then came to the United States. This was 29 years ago. So from the time that I left the mainland up until last week, I was only able to spend 11 months with my late father and my mother, who brought me to this world under such extraordinary circumstances. When I was appointed by then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, to serve in a government role, shortly after my appointment, there was a message that I shouldn't be serving in the U.S. government. I should be resigning immediately. And then late in 2021, I got sanctioned by Beijing for my work in the U.S. government. Calculation that sanctioning and continue to mistreat and abuse my parents actually emboldened me. And then something else also happened in early 2022, that I lost my father. I thought that the Chinese will show some humanity and mercy to let my widowed mother to go, and that didn't happen. I had a chance to meet with President Biden briefly. I made a case directly to him, and then I had a chance to speak with National Security Jake Sullivan. So something remarkable happened. I really did not expect that President Biden would raise it again with Xi Jinping. And I still don't have the details, and it's not really important, what happened, what being said. But what is important is that the shortly after the summit, I started seeing some movement. I never thought in my life that I would see my mom in such a ceremonial way, in such a dignified way. I was notified 3 days prior to my mom's arrival. I could not sleep. I ran upstairs to the third floor to wake up my wife, and we hugged and wept. And then my kids woke up, and I told my son why I was getting in the middle of the night emotional. And I said, look, you're going to meet your grandma for the first time soon. And he got so emotional. He said, when was the last time that I saw his grandma? I said, 20 years ago. There's a picture right on my shoulder over there from my law school graduation. That advanced New York Times piece has a picture of it. When my son was 4 years old, he stood there and asked me who they were. I told him grandparents, and the following question is, how come I don't meet them? What can you say? He was 4 years old. How do you explain? And that painful abnormality that myself and my family enduring was something I could not explain to 4 years old. I was on my way to Dulles Airport. I got a phone call from a DC number, and on the other side, a diplomat said, somebody wants to talk to you, and then it was Mom.
That was Nuri Turkle. For his full story and more from Zoom In, Zoom Out, follow us on social media and visit our website at TaiwanPlus.com. Apple is reportedly in talks with Chinese tech giants Tencent and ByteDance about rolling out AI on iPhones sold in China. Unnamed sources told Reuters the discussions are still at an early stage. Apple's latest phones with ChatGPT installed are banned in China, as Beijing has not cleared the US-made chatbot. Without local AI partners, Apple could see its shares in the world's biggest smartphone market further cut, losing out to competitors like Huawei. Taiwan's top tech official has confirmed the country is in talks with an Amazon subsidiary to boost satellite-based communication. Minister Wu Chengwen says Amazon's Project Kuiper offers new possibilities after results from working with France's OneWeb have fallen short. Taipei has been working to strengthen phone and internet systems to withstand any potential attack by Beijing, an effort that will require international help.
6G 无线通信的这个产业，现在全世界都在竞争当中，但是要建构低轨卫星链这个是需要非常庞大的资金的投资，所以我们一定要跟国际来合作。
The minister says it would be, quote, natural to consider working with Elon Musk's Starlink satellite service if it clears U.S. security checks. But Taipei has long-standing concerns about Musk's business ties with China. The skeleton cast of the largest dinosaur ever discovered has arrived in Taipei for a new special exhibit. The specimen from London's Natural History Museum will give dinosaur lovers in Taiwan a chance to learn more about prehistoric giants. Wesley Lewis has more.
Dwarfed by what could be the biggest animal to have ever walked the earth, visitors are here to see this towering 37-meter-long skeleton cast of a Patagotitan majorum, the largest dinosaur ever discovered. On loan from London's Natural History Museum, this display will be here at the National Taiwan Science Education Center in Taipei for the next 4 months, and getting it in place was no easy task.
我们出动了蜘蛛车，对，就是吊车，然后才能把这个吊起来。那特别的是，如果看一下天花板的话，我们还把科教馆的灯轨跟风管也拆除了，才有办法把它安装起来。
Categorized as a Titanosaurus, a diverse group of land-dwelling dinosaurs, the Patagotitan majorum roamed the planet over 100 million years ago, and is named after the Patagonia region in Argentina, where they were first discovered in 2010. Scientists 3D scanned the fossils to create a cast made of fiberglass, polyester resin, and expanding foam to successfully reconstruct this skeleton model, consisting of nearly 300 bones. These massive herbivores are known for their distinct long necks that allowed them to forage for food on tall trees. The Patagotitan majorum is literally a big deal. They could weigh over 70 tons, the equivalent of about 8 T-Rexes. This interactive exhibit gives visitors a chance to get up close and personal with the colossal animal, to view it from every single side, and even from underneath its belly. In addition to the behemoth skeletal replica, this special exhibit also includes lifelike animatronic models, allowing visitors to come face to face with various dinosaur species. It's already gone over big with dinosaur lovers and inquisitive school children.
We're here to see our dinosaur friends.
Yeah, our dead friends. Here is our Titanosaurus. 现在有这个机会可以让小朋友从小就接触到，我觉得很棒。
I like the dinosaur bones.
This is the third time the Natural History Museum London has loaned an exhibit to Taiwan in recent years. The curators here say the success of these exchanges demonstrate the know-how that Taiwan's institutions possess and could create more opportunities for international collaborations of this kind, meaning the Patago Titan Mayorum's temporary stay here not only offers an impressive showcase of paleontological marvels, but could lead to even bigger things to come for Taiwan's museums and scientific institutions. Andy Shura, Peachy Zhuang, and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today, check out these mountains dusted with snow as Taiwan is hit with a frosty cold front. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.